There aren't too many gaming franchises that go as far back as 1996, and there aren't any gaming franchises that can claim to have defined my sexuality, all thanks to Lara Croft's 5-polygon count and gloriously triangular breasticles. I mean, back in my day we didn't need curves, those brutally sharp edges were enough food for thought, but here I am, 26 years later, and still enjoying Lara Croft's adventures as the Raider of Boobs, Tombs. Tomb Raider played a huge role in my childhood, teaching me that masturbating while relentlessly side-flipping and blasting a T-Rex in the face with Lara's infinite ammo pistols is actually a realistic possibility, to then seeing the Tomb Raider developers Eidos sponsoring the second love of my life, Manchester City Football Club, and then leaving these two gentlemen looking extremely confused but strangely satisfied at the same time. Whichever way you look at it, the franchise has been milked. Now, unlike the start of this video though, the trilogy of the Tomb Raider reboots took a much more mature attitude to the series and delved deeper into the origins and the psyche of Lara Croft. The reboots remain faithful to the franchise in certain ways, with plenty of physics-defying platforming, some head-scratching puzzles to solve with help from Lara's survival instincts, highlighting the environment's interactables, and of course, Lara will still meet civilizations that are desperately poor, but decides to steal their most valued treasures and relics anyway, just to take back and display in her home, which I'm pretty sure is the polar opposite intention of archaeology, but hey, that's Lara Croft for you. The trilogy reboots massively reinvented the series in other ways though, with some engaging survival and RPG mechanics, some jaw-dropping interactive cinematics, and they've even had to up the age rating thanks to some brutally stomach-churning death animations.
Oh, look at that. I've been impaled.
Platforming and exploring is still the strongest foundation to which Tomb Raider was built on, as Lara ventures across Mexico and the Peruvian jungle, though at times the platforming is a little too generous, especially considering how precise you'd need to time your jump in the old school Tomb Raider games. Lara will sometimes float and be forgivingly guided to land perfectly where you're aiming. Platforming is all very seamless and simplistic to control, but make no mistake, that sense of acrophobia is showcased really well with some atmospheric and dynamic camera angles really making my stomach fall out of my arse at times. Now, exploring the world is a rewarding exercise, as some areas require revisiting thanks to new tools and abilities you'll unlock, and although there's usually some optional eye-watering and grandiloquent tomb to uncover, it's the journey towards finding these hidden locations that feel equally rewarding and at times very educational, and unearthed my inner historian, because I've always wondered what a sextant could be used for, and now I know. Venturing through the jungle, Lara's enemies gradually reveal themselves as the Animal Kingdom, the infamous Corporation Trinity that are chasing the same relics as Lara, and eventually the local tribe that lives deep within the jungle. These locals attempt to deter any uninvited visitor with some vicious traps and more than challenging obstacles as the tribe watches from the shadows, hoping for one small misstep or collapsing of the terrain that'll leave Lara feeling rather embarrassed and humiliated.
Oh shit. Have they seen me? What a knobhead I look. What a way for them to see me. Are they up there? Oh, they're all watching as well. It's the stairs here. You'd think they would have sorted this out for me if they knew I was coming.
I've got to mention the underwater areas. They are something else. Absolutely incredible visuals again, differing depending on which underwater section of the world you're exploring, but to also include a really engaging stealth mechanic under the water's surface. Being hunted by this monstrous eel or avoiding the gaze of a bloodthirsty shoal of piranhas by hiding in some nearby kelp was such a tense addition to the game. Shadow of the Tomb Raider continues Lara's adventure in the same vein as the 2013 Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider, but with a much stronger emphasis on platforming, puzzle solving and the narrative. Combat still plays a role of course, but a much smaller one than the previous two entries into the series. I felt like I didn't get to fully utilise Lara's badassery until the second half of the game in truth, and then wham! All of a sudden, a screw comes loose and Lara turns into this death-defying Terminator-esque one-woman wrecking ball that slaughters anything in her path. The combat itself is a little disappointing though. The aiming has a strange acceleration to it that ultimately feels unintentionally unsteady, rather than something you can compensate for with either learning the mechanic or upgrading Lara's skills. Certain weapons definitely felt different, and that helped, with the bow and arrow feeling a little bit tighter than any pistol or automatic weapon, and notably the shotgun is the most fun to wield, powering its way through anything in Lara's path, but by the skin of its teeth, I'd say the stealth saves the combat overall, but only just. Now Lara has a few more covert actions available to her, like covering herself in mud, becoming one with the shrubberies, or pouncing from the treetops to leave her prey swinging like an ugly piñata. The game encourages stealth, with more XP being handed out for stealth kills, and you can see why, as the stealth is the shining light to the combat. The aiming mechanics are a mixed bag, and the melee combat, that's just plain atrocious. It's only through your own mistakes will you end up needing to swing Lara's axe in anger, but its overpowered staggering and ugly animations left me feeling pretty unsatisfied that I was forced into using my axe as a weapon. Now I appreciate where Eidos were trying to take the series by indulging RPG fans with side quests, random NPCs to interact with, merchants to sell and buy from, weapons and gear to upgrade, and including an in-depth skill tree to increase Lara's abilities as the story moves forward. There weren't that many side quests at all, to be truthful, but they did offer some half-decent lore and unique weapons and gear to unlock. The NPC conversations were a little phoned in, and after speaking with 4 or 5, I was already hearing repeated dialogue. The merchants offered a few new interesting weapons and upgrades, but everything else felt like it could have been included in the crafting menus of the game, so I only really needed to visit the merchant twice in my entire playthrough. The crafting itself though is pretty expansive, and similar to Rise of the Tomb Raider, Lara can upgrade her weapons using certain materials that can only be used at one of the many base camps, but other items like healing plants and arrows can be crafted on the go. The skill tree felt so bloated, and some of the skills feel like a complete waste of a skill point. Some offered entirely new ways to play the game, but these were all tied to the story's progression, making me question why they're even included in the skill tree at all. And then others, like automatically grabbing when Lara slips on a ledge, just felt like an unneeded convenience to not have to press a button that gave me ample time to press that button to begin with. I felt like a lot of these RPG mechanics were shoehorned in to appease the fans of games that enjoy these aspects to games, and some of these inclusions were pretty poorly executed. Graphically, the game is stunning, but from a preference point of view, I did get a little sick of the jungle vibe, whereas in the Rise of the Tomb Raider, there was far more variety, from glacial mountain peaks, abandoned mines, lush forest valleys, and industrial research bases. Occasionally you'll find an optional tomb that'll offer a refreshed colour palette to gaze at, and my favourite tomb, though it's hardly a tomb, was the hidden shipwrecked boat to explore, which again offered new vibes while I'm exploring, but ultimately, you'll have to get used to the jungle setting. But don't let that detract from some of the jaw-dropping scenery on display, because there's some areas that'll stop you dead in your tracks just to admire. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was so frequently used to benchmark the 20 series and AMD's 5000 series graphics cards, and the game being pretty demanding on GPUs and CPUs as well to make use of the ray tracing, but even rocking a 3090 graphics card on DX12, it still requires DLSS and sadly produces this weird artifacting flicker when combined with ray-traced shadows. But without ray-traced shadows, the game runs flawlessly around 60 to 80 FPS at 4K. Next-gen console players have got a free next-gen upgrade to enjoy, with faster loading times and a resolution mode playing at a checkerboard 4K at 60 FPS, so not a native 4K and the occasional drop into the 50s, but still pretty impressive. And then the higher frame rate mode, which is totally locked at 60 FPS but playing at 1080p, and is more geared for the Series S owners, where it plays at a 900p 60 FPS. Still though, this is hugely impressive for consoles to play such a demanding game at these numbers. Shadow of the Tomb Raider being the most recent entry into the series doesn't seem to spell the end of the series and was never likely to, in all honesty, and now there's strong rumours doing the rounds that a new Tomb Raider game is on the cards and could feature an experienced Lara Croft leading a team of Tomb Raiders. The game's reportedly being designed within the exciting Unreal 5 engine, and a reported casting script contains tidbits of information like Lara is now at the top of her game, she's fully embraced the life of an adventurer and has inspired a new generation of Tomb Raiders. Oh, and they're also looking to cast an authentic British actress in their mid-30s in the prototype of Emily Blunt or Rosamund Pike, and the role will involve romantic scenes with another female character. Oh goody, just what the industry is missing, some excessive diversifying agendas being shoved down my throat. How excellent. Anyway, I'm still going to play it regardless of any agendas that are being pushed, but let me know your thoughts on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'd love to know how you think it compares to the other two games in the reboot trilogy. Let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.